Well, good day guys, and welcome to, I think, the third year now of rating movies for the year with Freeney121. We've been doing this for a while. We love doing it for you guys. It's our annual video. It's that time of year. It's now after Christmas, so I hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas at the time of watching this. For us, Christmas is actually 6 days away, so we're getting excited. But let's speak about all those films in 2023 and a little bit as we look forward to 2024. Starting off with Megan. Now, Blumhouse has come out with some strange films, but some good ones over the last couple of years. They've really been hit and miss. And, this female version of Chucky with these kind of awkward dance moves as well. I wasn't a big fan of this film. Look, it was enjoyable while watching the film, but there wasn't really any takeaways to mine. And I'm going to rate this one quite low to start off the video. Megan for mine. I'm going to try and rank the video as well based on the order that I've seen them this year, the months that they came out. But for mine, I'm going to give Megan a 4 out of 10. I was actually just a little bit disappointed. I expected a little bit more from the creativity team. But yeah, Megan for mine, 4 out of 10. You caught this one as well?
Yeah, I've seen this one. It's a bit of an odd movie they've put together. What's the production name? Blumhouse?
I think it's Blumhouse.
Blumhouse. They've made some good movies, but they were just putting something together. Yeah, a bit of a random movie to put into. The characters were a bit weird. The storyline was just Chucky, but a girl version.
Yeah, generic.
Yeah, not the best movie. I'd probably say a 4 as well.
There you go, both giving Megan a 4 there. Next up, I don't think Freeney saw this one, but I'm going to speak a little bit about Missing. Now, I really enjoyed the first movie, Searching. It's actually one of the best films I've ever seen, Searching, back in the day. An unbelievable plot twist. And it's kind of the same with this film, a pretty unbelievable plot twist. Lots of twists and turns to the story. A little bit different, not really a sequel as such, but kind of set in the same universe. Missing is filmed via technology, just like Searching. I really hope they do continue to make more of these films, but I don't want them to milk this into a franchise. But I think this one worked. It was a nice little follow-up. There was some good acting. There was some suspense. There was some payoffs while waiting for big moments throughout the movie as well. And I'm actually going to give Missing an 8 out of 10. I think it's right up the top for me of some of the best picks I've seen this year, and especially that early on. This was a really good film. Next up is Marvel's Ant-Man Quantumania. Now, there was a lot of hype for me. This was probably, I think from memory, might have even been my most anticipated movie of the year. And boy, did that hype go down for mine after watching this film. Kang the Conqueror was great. Cassie was great. There were some really highs and lows of the film. However, the storyline was not great. Some of the special effects and CGI was really, really poor. There were some nice surprises, but Marvel has definitely gone downhill to some extent in recent years. And this was a massive drop-off, in my opinion, from what I expected the film to be. I think there were some really good moments, though, and that's why I give my rating a little bit higher than you might expect, but still fairly low for mine. Ant-Man Quantumania is a 6 out of 10. I probably have enjoyed the other Ant-Man films just a little bit more than this one. And yeah, out of the 3, I think this one was the weakest entry.
Okay. I reckon they should have just left it after the second one and left it how it is, because the third one, yeah, I don't know what Marvel were thinking. It had, like Hayden said, there were some good qualities to the movie and all that, but it just didn't make... They should have just left it after the Ant-Man and the Wasp or whatever that one was. I'll give this one a 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10, there you go. Both fairly low there. I think with Marvel, they need to make less multiversal movies. It was pretty cool with Doctor Strange, pretty cool with No Way Home, but starting to milk that franchise, it's time to see some solo movies and some solo hero stories. Next up is Creed 3. Now, from memory, I think Creed 3 was the first film I saw after our trip to Los Angeles. We were going to go see this one in pictures, but, a little bit risky going to the movies over there in America. Creed 3 obviously was the first kind of film in this series of Rocky Creed without Sly. Sylvester Stallone is not in it, for those who are getting a review. But, you know, Michael B. Jordan absolutely steals the show. He was involved in the production of the film as well, so he had a lot of behind the scenes as well as the acting. I thought this was really, really good, and I thought the struggles of their kind of relationship and his work life as well. A really good story, really good fight scenes throughout the film as well. I was really impressed with Creed 3 for what they were able to do without such an important character, obviously being Sly. I'm going to give this the highest on the list so far, and I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed Creed 3.
Yeah, Creed 3, I reckon it's the best one they've made, and then the first one was second. Yeah, like the Hayden said, great storyline with it, how they brought in an old friend that we didn't really know about, and then the background about what happened to him and Adonis. The fight scenes as well were next level. They were pretty good, and I can't wait for another one if they do carry on the franchise. I'll give this one a 8 out of 10.
We've both mentioned Ant-Man Quantumania and Creed 3, and one thing I forgot is literally as soon as we got to America, we saw Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors. I got a photo with Jonathan Majors, so yeah, we were very excited going into this film after being in America during the publicity there. Next up is Scream 6. As you guys know, I am a massive Scream fan. I have been for years. I love, you know, the cheesiness, of Ghostface running around silly. I love the reveals. I love the kill. I like the gore. I love it all. It's a great franchise, and you know, Jenna Ortega and I forget the other actress's name, but they once again take over the role that they did throughout Scream 5. Now we look to Scream 7, which is going to be very different without them. But as for this one, based in New York, a little bit of a different kind of storyline, going down a different path as well. Is it predictable? Maybe, kind of. You bring in some older characters as well. You bring in Kirby, who seemed to be, you know, a bit of plot armor. Didn't seem necessary to the story too much for mine. Loved the kills. Enjoyed the reveals. Some of them I didn't expect as well. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. I just love this franchise, and this might be the last time we see what they call the Core 4, I think they call themselves in the film. You know, it's corny, but I love the Scream films. So yeah, an 8 out of 10 for mine personally.
I've only seen a few of them, but not in order. They all seem the same to me about that, whatever his name is, going around stabbing people. I saw this one, predicted it from the start, what would happen. It was still pretty good with some gore and that, so I'd give it that, but I'd give this one a 6 out of 10.
I thought the one thing I do want to add is I thought the opening scene, for someone who's watched, you know, the first 5, was very different. They went down a very different path, and we thought, holy shit, have we got a Ghostface reveal in the opening minutes? But obviously I won't spoil what happened next. Next up is John Wick Chapter 4. This is potentially the last film in the John Wick franchise. Keanu Reeves, you know, playing John Wick potentially one final time. Thought this was really, really good. I think action movies have been a little bit dull in recent years. I have loved the franchise, but this is one of the best out of the 4 in my opinion. And it's up there with one of my favourite films this year. I really, really did enjoy it. It's just almost shy of a 10. It was almost perfect. You had new characters, you had old characters, you had deaths, which I obviously won't. You know, it felt like there was real consequences and, you know, setups not for future films, but towards the past, which we might see with, you know, the Continental, things like that coming out. Really enjoyed John Wick 4 though, big fan of the film. I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. Next up was the Super Mario Bros. Now obviously Chris Pratt's voice was very controversial going into this film. I thought he did a nice job as Mario. I thought they included a lot of characters that had some nice animation. A decent story, a different kind of story to what we were probably expecting for the film. And, you know, the memorable song of Peaches performed by Jack Black. He was great as Bowser. Luigi was great as well. As I mentioned, you know, they included lots of iconic characters. And they really seemed to set up potential future films or even future spin-offs with some cool little Easter eggs throughout the movie as well. I did enjoy it. It was fun, but it wasn't fantastic. It was good, but I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10 because I still think that with what they have over at Nintendo, that they probably could have made this a little bit better, but I did enjoy it. Next up is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. James Gunn taking over for the last film in the Guardians franchise before heading over as the showrunner or the head of DC Films now. He's left Marvel. He's taken, Sean Gunn with him. He's taken everyone with him. I loved this film. I thought there was some really cool original ideas, and for Marvel films to be so poor in recent years, or maybe not even poor, maybe just disappointing. I guess I was a little bit scared going into it. The villain was fantastic. The way that they treated animals, which was very, very harsh, almost brought me to tears. There was real emotion throughout this movie. There were some shocking scenes. There were cool backstory, cool future kind of sets up if they want to do a future with these characters. This is a really, really good film with some new original ideas and one of the best villains in Marvel history. I'm going to give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 a 9 out of 10. And that Florence and the Machine song at the end is so friggin' memorable.
Yeah, what a movie. Marvel definitely stepped up a bit after dropping Ant-Man or whatever the other ones were before that, because this one was just, it really brought it back up. The storyline was amazing. The characters in it, the new characters they brought in, some bit silly ones with the dog and all that. But other than that, you can still have a laugh with it. I reckon this was the best Marvel movie I've seen this year. I'll give that a 10 out of 10.
Whoa, first 10 for Tommy there. Next up for me was Fast X. Now, I'll tell you what, I was not looking forward to this film. I just love, for some reason, going to the pictures and watching them, even if I don't enjoy them. Now, Tom and I saw Fast 9 with, obviously, John Cena playing that pivotal role a few years ago, and we had a bit of a wait for this film here. We've had, you've had delays, you've had the Hollywood strikes, a lot happening for these types of films to come out. And I'll tell you what, I actually wasn't too disappointed with this film. I thought it had, let me just say, this has a massive cliffhanger. This has a massive cliffhanger, and I'm actually looking forward to Fast 11 if they can build off that. I was thinking that Jason Momoa wouldn't be a very good villain. I was wrong. Love him as an actor, but as a villain, I didn't know how he'd go, and he was fantastic in this film. Stole the show, absolutely. We had some old returning friends. We had a little bit of setups for potential future spin-offs, which is something we've seen in Fast and Furious because they milk the hell out of that franchise. But I did enjoy it. I had a good time, and I'm going to give Fast X a 6 out of 10. I was leaning towards a 6.5, but I still do have my issues with the movie, thinking some scenes are believable. You haven't seen this one, have you?
No, I have not, but I've seen the rest and I love them all, so I'm sure this one, they've just dragged it on. I like the franchise, but
going to space.
You can't do anything else. Yeah, they've gone to space. What else can you do now?
Next up, this is going to be interesting because I think we've got both different takes to this film. Now, it is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. We saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 5 years ago. We see a sequel this year. Miles Morales is back. Gwen Stacy is back. We see some really good Easter eggs throughout the film and a story that we've seen before, but in a kind of different way. A pretty cool villain that evolves throughout the story. Some very emotional sequences. And I tell you what, I loved it. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I know it went for a long time, but it doesn't matter because the pacing felt right. There was introductions of new characters that seemed to work. There was maybe one sequence where it seemed like it was dragging on a little bit, but I'm sorry, this film was absolutely perfect. As a massive Spider-Man fan over the years, to see all the different Easter eggs and this story to work together to a fantastic cliffhanger, great build-off and payoff. I hope part 2 is just as good, because Across the Spider-Verse for mine is a 10 out of 10 film in 2023.
This movie had its ups and downs. Definitely not a 10 out of 10. I'll give you that much. But it was alright. Like, there was some cool Easter eggs, like Hayden said. You're seeing all the different Spider-Mans across all the universe, all the Spider-Verses. I can't really remember what happened in it because it dragged on. It went on for a long time. But I know the next one hopefully will be better and a bit shorter because they pretty much did everything they could in this one. I'll give this a 7 out of 10.
There you go. Different opinions there, but I thought this film was absolutely amazing. Next up for mine is Transformers Rise of the Beast. I've been a Transformers fan for many years, but I've thought that, you know, the Last Night, The Age of Extinction, and I think there might have been another one in between, were all dog shite. So I was optimistic looking to the film. You know, Pete Davidson coming into it, a fantastic new lead cast, and I thought they did a great job in the film. I think there was more that they could have done with it. It was great to see the original actor of Optimus Prime coming back as well. But it could have gone to a next level for mine. Some of the action sequences were really, really good. I think the other film I was thinking of was The Last Night as well, now that I think about it. But yeah, I like Transformers Rise of the Beast. I'm looking forward to the future of the franchise. They're going down a bit of a different road. It seemed to have bombed at the box office, so I'm hoping that doesn't affect its future. But I'm going to give Rise of the Beast a 7 out of 10. Next up is Strays. Now, Strays is an it's kind of real life dogs, but also animated to an extent. And, you know, they're going on this journey, trying to get back to their owner. It's a crude, rude, it's got basically everything under the sun that you would expect in one of these types of movies with this type of car. Has some very funny moments in it, and it's an enjoyable film. It's not the greatest film in the world, though, but I did have a great time watching it. And for mine, I'm going to give Strays a 7.5. I think there was a really nice blend of casts that worked together and some very funny, memorable moments for the future of these type of films. Next up is Elemental. Now, Disney has been on a bit of a shocking path in the last couple of years. There's been some okay movies and there's been some real stinkers. And Elemental was actually quite good. Elemental was a bit of an original kind of idea used by Disney. I kind of wish they saved this film for the end of the year. Considering it's the 100th anniversary of Disney, I think this should have been the film instead of Wish, which I haven't seen. I'll just mention that now. I have not seen Wish. I will watch it eventually. But Elemental had some nice animation, had some really nice setups, some payoff. It didn't feel too long as well. I'm not sure how long it went for, but it felt like the right kind of time length and some really interesting characters and some good comedy involved. I actually really had a good time watching Elemental, and I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10 because I did enjoy it this year. Next up was The Flash. I am a massive fan of The Flash, and I was really looking forward to this movie. Michael Keaton returning as Batman, Ezra Miller back as The Flash, and I tell you what, it was just a little bit disappointing. You know, from the opening get-go, there were some weird sequences, including babies going in microwaves. Like, from when I saw that, I knew some things were going to happen. The issue I have with this film is the storyline. There is on par with the kind of Martha Batman vs Superman, how silly some parts of this film just don't work. The villain just looked shite, in my opinion. I feel like I'm rating this too high because I was really disappointed. I think I'm due for a rewatch of this one, but I'm going to give The Flash a 6 out of 10 because I really, really wanted more for this film, and it seems to be the end of that DC universe. Next up was Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny. It has been 15 years since we last saw Indiana Jones in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and Dial of the Destiny is the last film of the Indiana Jones franchise, at least for now. Now, going into this film, didn't expect much. I really thought the trailers looked poor, but I thought I'd give it a chance. And I actually had a good time with the film. Now, I definitely had a lot of issues with the film. I think the ending was really, really strange and they were heading in a weird direction. I think that there's something that they could have done to make this film a little bit better. But I thought for what they were able to do, and, you know, the cast was very, very good throughout the film, I think it's a 6.5 film. I don't think it gets to that 7-8 for mine, but I still think it was okay. Enjoyed it, a 6.5 for Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny. Next up is Sound of Freedom. Now, guys, if you haven't seen Sound of Freedom, it was only at select theatres around the world. It was getting cancelled as well. Hollywood was trying to get rid of it. It's a very controversial topic, but it's something that needs to spread awareness. And, you know, you have some known actors, but not, you know, A-star actors for a reason, so that it's not just considered as a movie. And let me tell you, Sound of Freedom is one of the best films of 2023. And I think Tom will agree with me. This film brought me to tears. Not many films do it. This film had a fantastic story, which, let's be real, this story happens every day. It had emotional payoff. It had a little bit of, I guess it had some violent sequences that were really well done. You've got to be careful about the way that you talk about this film. The ending is absolutely chilling. You learn what these children are saying throughout the film, and that's really what brought me to tears. This is a moving film that I feel like this film could actually in the future be shown in schools. I feel like this is a type of film that you could study as a school case. But Sound of Freedom for mine, it's one of the best films this year. Epic surprise. It is a 10 out of 10 film for mine.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 as well. I'm just going to keep it short because you can't really... He said everything that you could say about it. You just need to go watch it to see what actually is happening. It's sad that that happens all around the world and nothing is ever happening about it. Glad they made a movie to showcase like what's happening and that we need to be more protective and all that. I reckon this is easily in top 5 movies I've seen in my whole life. It's up there. Go see it if you haven't. I'm sure you can find it somewhere on the internet.
Next up is a film that we almost didn't see. I booked my tickets for this film in fucking Western Australia. I don't know how I managed to do it, but Mission Impossible, what I remember this year, I booked the wrong tickets for the wrong cinema, and somehow we almost ended up on the other side of Australia. But Mission Impossible, I've enjoyed these films. I thought Fallout was fantastic just a few years ago, so I was looking forward to this. And you know, I love Benji, I love Simon Pegg, I love the cast. The way that they interact is fantastic. The storyline was a little bit different, going down that kind of AI path, that super spy tech story. Film had a big cliffhanger, obviously being part 1 as well. It had some scenes that paid off. There were some things in this film that I didn't expect to happen, and they ended up happening. And I thought that was the really cool part, that they took some risks throughout this film for the fans' future of this franchise, or if the next one is the last one. We've got a long wait. I think we have to wait 2 years now for the next one because of the Hollywood strike. But Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning for mine is a 7.5.
Yeah, I've, like with the Scream movies, I haven't seen many of the other ones because I know they just keep dragging them on. But this one was alright. They had some good action scenes in it. I didn't know what was going on, but it's always something with Tom Cruise in it. The ending scene was good. That was a good cliffhanger. Keen to see the next one whenever that one comes out, but I'd give this one a 5 or 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. Now, next up is a film that I was looking forward to, but I was interested to see just how good it was. I love Christopher Nolan films, and let me tell you, in July, I got to watch this film at IMAX in Melbourne. There is no better way to experience it. I think I went to the AFL and the NRL, but before that went to this screening at IMAX, and my God, there is, a short explosion scene, but there is some great character development. There is some great betrayal. There is some great use of cinematography from black and white to color. There is some fantastic dialogue that will be reused in films to come. Oppenheimer is fantastic. I can't wait to own this on DVD, probably on Blu-ray for this one because it's a must-have. I'm giving Oppenheimer a 10 out of 10. This film had such a good cast, Cillian Murphy. It had a cast from, other films as well that we've seen. A little bit odd cast. I think Miles Teller or someone, I think, was in this film as well. So there was a really cool cast. Robert Downey Jr. was fantastic. Oppenheimer is a must-watch. Oh, Barbie. I was really looking forward to Barbie. I was optimistic about Barbie, and not a fan. Look, it is watchable. There are some funny sequences, but this film tries to force way too much political stuff into a kid's movie that doesn't even feel like a kid's movie. Obviously, the end of the film has one of the weirdest quotes in a long time, and yes, it's funny. However, it's not what I expected. There were some cool, memorable songs, great soundtrack, some, good use of filmmaking. I've written 6. I'm changing it. It is a 5.5. It is a 5.5 movie. It is not as good as I expected it to be. I was looking forward to Will Ferrell, looking forward to Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling as Ken, but I just don't think the movie worked as much as I wanted it to.
I only just watched this maybe last week or the week before. I was putting it off just because did not want to watch it. Ended up watching it. It was enjoyable for a bit, and then yeah, it just went downhill. Some funny actors in it, some good scenes in it. Yeah, they were just trying to push a lot of political stuff. It could have been better. Yeah, like I doubt many kids would have watched it because some of the stuff they talk about they wouldn't understand. I'll give this 5 out of 10.
Next up is The Nun 2. Now, I saw The Nun quite a few years ago, so to see a sequel after this long, I'm a massive fan of the Conjuring franchise and the Conjuring movies. Love the Conjuring storyline. I thought The Nun was okay, but I think The Nun 2 probably surpasses the first Nun movie. I think it's a lot more scarier. From memory, I think there was more than a couple of jump scares. I think there was some actually genuinely frightening moments, but I can't remember if I'm thinking of other films. But it was enjoyable. Just a little bit up from Barbie because it wasn't great. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 for The Nun 2. Worst movie of the year. Here it is. For me, it is Spy Kids Armageddon. I love the original Spy Kids film. Didn't mind the Spy Kids film that they put out a few years ago. But Armageddon, you know, you have a decent cast, ready to go, and you flop like that. Almost not even worth talking about, but I wanted to have a film that I rate really low. And this is like a 3.5 to a 4. I'm going to say 3.5 because Spy Kids Armageddon was absolute trash. Next up is Saw X. In a year where we saw Saw and Scream releasing new films, which we probably will see the same potentially next year as well. Saw X is obviously a prequel to Saw 2 and set after Saw 1. We saw a more humane side to Jigsaw. Saw some great new traps throughout the film as well. We saw some interaction with apprentice Amanda, some surprises which I won't spoil throughout the film, a nice little twist rolled up into one with some cool interactions with new characters throughout the franchise. I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people didn't enjoy it, but I've been a Saw fan and I liked it much better than films like Jigsaw. Don't know if it was better than Spiral. I think it was. The more I think about it, I think it actually was. So I'd say this is probably the best film since at least Saw, probably up there with Saw 1 and 2. So I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. I thought it really got the franchise back on track and looking forward to if they go, you know, down a new route of other characters or if they kind of release a sequel to this film. Creator. I'll be honest, I did not know much about this film going into it. I knew it was about kind of AI and there was this secret weapon to stop the AI from taking over. Turns out that weapon is a kid made out of the AI. I think this might be my movie of the year. This movie was so freaking good. The action, the acting, the way it was filmed, everything about this was perfect. This is another one that when it comes to DVD, I'll be adding. I know it comes to Disney Plus in 3 days and I'm annoyed that Freeney hasn't watched it. He'll be watching it as soon as it comes out in Disney Plus, and I'll put a little thing in the comments saying Freeney gave The Creator this, but The Creator is so damn good. There is payoff that you're waiting for. There is great action scenes. There are plenty of surprises. There is one thing about this film that I started to predict, and I did get it right, but I think a lot of people would think this is genuinely surprising. I'm going to give The Creator a 10 out of 10 because it's one of the best films of 2023. Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, Matthew Lillard, obviously Josh Hutcherson, a nice little cast here building towards a film based off a popular video game franchise that I'm sure we played as kids. And disappointing. Just disappointing. Just shitty dialogue. No action. Like, there's like 2 decent action scenes. I can't say much about this film. There's not much to like about it, if I'm being honest with you. Just straight up for me, I'm giving this movie a 5.
Yeah, I think I played the game once or twice, maybe. Had no clue what I was going into the movie to see. I went with my girlfriend, she's a fan of the games and that. Very predictable. Predicted who was the bad person, who was the good one from the start. Yeah, I thought it'd be a bit more like gory or like more action violence type, but yeah, you can't really make games into videos that much anymore. I'll give it a 4 out of 10.
When the animatronics were all, sorry for spoiler, but when the animatronics were all working together for this grand plan and they're laying on the floor laughing and giggling, holy shit, that's when I knew I was watching a bad movie. The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, a prequel to The Hunger Games set with Jon Snow. You know, we've seen Tigress from Mockingjay in the film as well as part of the family. Loved it. Now, I have been a little bit critical of Rachel Zegler as an actress because of some of the comments she's made towards a film that we will not be ranking next year, and that is Snow White, because that movie looks dog shite. However, I thought she did a fantastic job in this film. Some very memorable, iconic moments. She stole the role. Really enjoyed this. As a fan of the original Hunger Games, to see lots of likeness in the characters as well from past and present, and setting up some future moments, some really, really good payoffs, some great action within the games as well, and a few little twists and surprises that I probably didn't expect. I really enjoyed the Hunger Games a lot more than I thought I was going to. I walked out and went, yes, that was good. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. And the last film we will be speaking about in 2023, which unfortunately Tom has not seen. It's been 23 years since the original, so he can probably review the first one, but not the second one. But we saw Chicken Run, Breach Our Shores all those years ago. A nice little story with some memorable quotes like, you know, chicken pies, things like that, that we all just say for fun. Now, Chicken Run 2 obviously saw a bit of a recast. No Mel Gibson, no, forget the actress's name, but the main girl in Ginger. I liked it though. I did like it. I was expecting to be disappointed. I wish this film came out in theatres. I don't understand why Australia didn't get a theatre release rather than a Netflix release. You had a cool little story. You had the return of all these characters that we loved. And I just appreciate stop motion animation. I think being able to animate clay is such a skill. And the way that they make these films, Aardman, is so creative. It was a nice little story, nice little setup. Some of the new voices for characters didn't bother me too much. I've watched the film twice now already because I did enjoy it. I'm going to give Chicken Run to The Dawn of the Nugget a 7.5 out of 10. That just about does it for this video. So from my perspective, the best films of 2023, I had 4. I had Across the Spider-Verse being number 4. I have The Sound of Freedom at number 3. At number 2, I have Oppenheimer. And my favourite film of the year, which these are all 10 out of 10, but The Creator just blew me away. My most anticipated film going into 2024, there's a lot to look for. You know, Kung Fu Panda 4 is going to be good. But for me, it's Deadpool 3. The return of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. The return of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine for the first time in 8 years. It's going to be a big film. What do you think, Tom?
My favourite movie I've seen this year, I think I said... I had 2 10s. I think it was the Guardians of the Galaxy and Sound of Freedom. I can't pick one between because they were both that good. They're both 10 out of 10s. And the most anticipated movie next year, Deadpool would be up there, but also there's Despicable Me 4. Gotta love those little minions running around and seeing what mischief they get up to. So I'd probably say those 2 are that I'm keen for to see next year.
Perfect, guys. Well, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let us know what you're most looking forward to in 2024. Let us know what your favourite film was of 2023. And if you've got the time, feel free to rank every movie out of 10. As I said, other films that Freeney watches, I might try and add to the comments. And I'll see you guys later. Happy New Year.